Hey everyone, it's Shawn back with you. It is Monday, December 9th, 2024. I was on a panel over the weekend and we were talking about what's next for America. So I thought I'd do a video today, share some thoughts with you, maybe open up the conversation over here about what is going to happen next in America now that Biden is leaving, Trump's coming in. A lot of people are very concerned. I'm seeing a lot of people in the extremes think it's going to be one thing or another. Some people think it's going to be terrible, everything's going to shift, and suddenly we're going to go a completely different direction. And other people think it's going to be utopia and everything's going to be fantastic. I think the truth's going to be here in the middle, but I want to give you my thoughts about what I think I see coming based on my analysis so that maybe it's helpful to you. Maybe you could join the conversation as well. Give me your thoughts on what you think is coming, because I think together we can maybe do more to see about what is next and maybe help plan that. So Trump is likely going to hit the ground running, right? He's got a lot of people he wants to bring in. He's already lined that up. He had 4 years as a president. He knows how the system works. He had 4 years off to stew and think about what he would do. And now here he is coming back, and this means he's probably going to want to move quickly. Biden had a record number of executive orders as he came into president. I would not be surprised if Trump does not come close to that or really do as much or more through executive action right away. And then we're going to see his people come in and they're going to try to start shifting things. Of course, there's going to be a tough time getting legislation done. That's one thing that came up on this panel I was on over the weekend, is it's just going to be challenging to get all of the Republicans to row the same direction. There is a Republican majority shaping up, but can you get all the factions in the party to do the same thing? And odds are, I bet, probably not on everything. So there's going to be some division, and it's going to mean that things are going to shift slower than what some people anticipate. So those people who think we're going to go suddenly from being in a wonderful America under Biden to being in a terrible America with everybody's rights foreclosed and Trump changing everything, court systems and the checks and balances in place are probably going to slow that some. And for those that think this is suddenly going to be a utopia, Trump's going to fix everything, and we're suddenly going to be in a new morning in America next week, that's probably not going to be the truth either, right? Well, the truth is probably going to be in the middle somewhere, although I think there's going to be an attempt to move quickly. One analyst, Bryce Johnson, who has the dollar milkshake theory, was in an interview recently that I was listening to, and he is saying that Trump's going to have to move quickly or else he's going to get caught up in the mud and the muck from his changes, right? He's going to have to break things and keep moving without addressing it. And that would really create an interesting time. Of course, that will put a lot of people into a very scary situation. A lot of people will be freaking out, but that may be the necessity. If Trump slows down, starts answering too many questions and trying to be too political through the process, odds are his reforms may not happen. So this is going to be a very interesting period. This is probably going to be different than what we've seen. What it does point to, and something that I've focused on for a long time, and I think is very important to us as we're looking at the future of business, which is the theme of this show, right, is how do we take lessons for the future of business from what's happening? One thing I see happening as we move to the future of business is the pendulum swings are getting stronger and stronger, right? Trump was in, he did a bunch of stuff. Biden came in and he reversed a bunch of stuff, took things really a different direction. And this show is about business. It's done by my consulting firm, not by my law firm, but on my law firm side, when I'm running my law firm, a lot of policies were coming through, from the non-competes to the enforcement of the Corporate Transparency Act to, the new IRS agents, right? Everything was moving a completely different direction under Biden, and now we are already starting to get ready to shift a new direction with Trump, right? The degree of these shifts can be nauseating for business owners, and I expect that to continue while we're in this period, right? When we have, basically not much else to fight over in America other than which direction are we going, and we don't have as much external influence on the country. And while we do have a lot of geopolitical stuff going on, right, it's not really the focus of most people. People are really focused on those domestic core issues, which means our politicians are going to take us one direction or another direction or another direction. And I suspect that we may be looking in a few years as we get into midterm elections, followed by the next presidential election, where we're going to do a massive shift the other way, right? So that's what I think is coming for America, is more and more shifting. That is not going to change. For you and me as business owners and business leaders, it means we need to prepare for that, right? We need to know that these policies are going to change, and what is good for our business now may be bad for our business. And if our business is going into a bad period because of some of these policy changes, it may change to good. It really points to us building long-term businesses, long-term skills, diversifying as we look for ways to continue to go forward, right? We want to be in multiple industries and multiple revenue streams because we don't know. For those of you that are a one-trick pony, have all of your money tied up into one business, now is the time to think about how do we potentially move into more, right? I obviously can't give you advice here on this channel. This is not the appropriate forum for them. I don't know you and your details, but for most business owners, it would probably be recommended to think about how can I build multiple revenue streams to make sure that I am maximizing my chance, right? And we've talked about assets and asset allocation in a recent show. We probably don't want to be in just one bucket. One big thing that has been going on for a while and has been pointed out is the government is such a powerful piece of the economy now that public policy drives the private business sector in the U.S. And that's just the reality of where we've gotten to. Just saw a graphic Patrick McDavid was running on his show. 37% of U.S. GDP is spent by the government in the government sector. So the government is a massive player. And the things they pick, whether it's electric cars, drilling, other things, as they move these policy pieces, it affects everything. And now they will be having a major impact on the Bitcoin market. We already see that. The change from Biden to Trump is already changing the Bitcoin market. It's having effects on the gold market. And these things long-term will continue to interplay, along with the U.S. dollar. And a lot of people are talking about the volatility in gold. I've seen some people saying gold is unstable. But the issue I see with that is gold is usually priced in terms of currency. And of course, if currencies are volatile by nature, then they're going to be volatile vis-a-vis gold. And so I think a lot of what we're seeing is that volatility being shown in a different way. People are not sure what to do over currencies, right? They don't know how much governments are going to overspend. They don't know how much printing of money is going to come. They don't know what the inflationary tract is, particularly when we compare different currencies to each other. So dollar is probably the best of all the global currencies. Still, there's not many other options out there. A lot of people say it's the best of the worst. Whatever the case is, people still want and need U.S. dollars. And if they're looking for places to store money, it's typically going to be in U.S. dollars for major corporations and major international players, which puts demand for dollars despite the runaway spending and other things. And so we will push to another day, some of these days of reckoning and potentially the inflationary cycle that is going to come. The problem is we can only kick the can so far. What does that mean for you and me? Well, I think the can is getting kicked down the road, but at some point there is going to be a day of reckoning, right? The amount of U.S. debt, the necessity to inflate money, the instability of the banks, perhaps the overvalued real estate, if that comes home to roost, all this is going to play together. It's going to mean a massive shift. One thing I think a lot of people are doing right now, and I watch this in some of these online communities, is they're overvaluing their current savings. And I feel for a lot of folks, people who have worked hard, put money aside, built wealth. Some people have actually retired on their wealth. And to watch the potential of an inflationary event wiping out their life savings and making it less valuable, that is scary. Scary for you, scary for me, scary for all of us that have anything we've put together in a savings account, investments, real estate, other things, right? But the reality is that. And so we need to be prepared for that. We need to know that it is hard to judge the value of our savings and investments because the inflationary cycle may start again. I think we may have very big inflationary periods in the future, particularly as this national debt is digested over time, especially if there's a war or other massive government programs coming. There's going to be no choice but to run deficits, to increase the debt, and eventually to increase the amount of money out in the U.S. economy and then the world economy, which is going to mean inflation. So it is hard to value what the value of your assets are right now. And the value of your assets is largely going to come to play with macroeconomic and government policy decisions. So, what do? Something we talked about on a recent show here. You keep building skills, you keep building yourself, you keep building things that will produce revenue over the long term. So you don't just want assets now. You don't want necessarily, just like an annuity where you sell what you have and you get a promise of payments, which might get inflated to be meaningless. You want assets, real estate, skills, things that are going to keep paying you revenue over the long term. So we're looking at that as we move into the new America. Would love your thoughts on what you think is coming right now, along with your topics and questions for future videos. I'm Shawn. I'll be back with you guys for another video soon, but I appreciate you tuning in, and I am really looking forward to reading any comments thoughts you have about where you think America's headed right now. I'll talk to you soon.